Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. Sitting next to me is Mike Brenner. Today is July 26th. Topic of today's video, the Pac-12. Mike
That's
Brenner.
right.
Now, I think as we all have seen over the past bunch of years in basketball and football, the first rule of the Pac-12 is expect the unexpected, right?
Very
so if
true.
you have like USC playing out of their skull and they're a 30-point favorite at home against Colorado, the right bet is Colorado to win outright. It's a big
there
underdog.
you go. That seems to have been the pattern as of late, Pete.
Very, very, very unpredictable. And just looking over the Pac-12 this year, every year when the Pac-12 seems predictable, it winds up being unpredictable. Just going into the season, there seems like a lot of unpredictability, right? A ton of roster turnover, a ton of coaching changes on lots of these teams. There's two teams, though, that have caught my eye as far as possible teams to look for betting value.
I got a feeling you got one you're going to go. Go ahead,
yeah.
though. There's one
right.
I think we're going to be on the same
side.
side.
Well, we'll start with the most impressive team, without a doubt, in the Pac-12, just in terms of the program, Washington, right? Is that who you thought I was going to say?
That's Chris Peterson.
Right.
Yep.
And that is it's all Chris Peterson and the defensive coordinator.
Yes.
They get so much out of a limited roster, and now expectations are high, though.
It's the third year, though. Now he's starting to incorporate the pieces he put together when he left Boise State. He inherited a team. Now he's 3 years in. I'm telling you, this is a dangerous team.
Yeah.
Look out. Plus, they're returning 15 starters.
Yes. So now you're in a weird situation where you have a Washington team that a Coach Peterson coach team that tends to be undervalued, that tends to have low expectations and outperform them. Now actually coming into a season with high expectations.
Team total's a big example of that. 9, right?
Right. So what do we expect here? Do we expect them to play to expectations? Do we expect them to be overvalued as a lot of teams with high expectations wind up being, or do we expect them to actually have value? I tend to think that this team is still going to have betting value, that the defense is going to be improved and great again, and I'm looking to bet on Washington probably.
I am too, and you just absolutely stole the thunder from me, because I've been watching this guy for 2 years. Started cashing with Washington last year and said, look, they're going to be dangerous next year. And looking at their schedule, Pete, they've got some really, really, really good opportunities. I mean, one big game, obviously, if they're at home though, against Stanford, which is going to be their biggest, and then they're at home also against USC. Those are two teams I think they can get this year.
Right.
I really do. And then, of course, it's always a tricky game when you're on the road against your in-state rival, last game of the year, Washington State. But I don't think there's any reason this team shouldn't eclipse the team total of 9. I think this team's capable of maybe even running the board. I really do.
I guess the only reason they might not is they don't have multiple explosive weapons on offense. They have some, but not a ton.
Not a ton.
But they're just so well coached, and I'm going to be looking to bet on
volumes,
even though expectations will be high. All right. Then I have one other team that I'm looking at to maybe have some betting value. Before we get into that, is there any other team that caught your eye for any reason?
There is, and it's UCLA with 19 returning starters. And
Yeah.
Pete, I'm almost looking to fade him. There's something about this coach, Jim Mora Jr. I don't think he has the necessary, he proved it in the NFL, and he's had some amazing talent at UCLA. They start off hot, they have a couple weeks, but they do not stay consistent, and that comes from coaching. I think they're going to be a little overvalued. The team total of 8.5, looking at their schedule, there's a chance they could finish underneath that. I'm thinking I might be fading that team.
You might have something there, and I'll tell you why I'm maybe agreeing with you. Obviously, expectations are high, and there's a ton of hype surrounding Josh Rosen, a quarterback, right? He's going to be a likely first rounder in the NFL draft, and his skill set is tailor made to the NFL game, right?
Yes.
To the pro game.
No doubt.
It's not so perfectly tailored to the college game. It can be if the system works around him, but is UCLA going to be able to formulate a system that really takes advantages of his skills? Not exactly sure. The offensive line was strong last year, but before that, they were a clear weakness. And if they're not protecting him, there's losses this year on the offensive line. That could be an issue. And then the defense had a ton of injuries, and they just couldn't really stop the run last season. If that's a problem, again, if they have issues on defense and they can't fully take advantage of Josh Rosen's great pro skill set, you're right. They might be overvalued. Not necessarily a bad team, but overvalued.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's the way I'm looking at it, Pete, and that's what I believe. And also there's one, I think Clay Helton's done a nice job at USC. All right.
Yes.
7.5 on the team total.
Yes.
And I know the Pac-12
Yes.
South, but I think this team could eclipse that.
Yes.
They just come to fight
Yes.
every week, and I think they're very well coached. I'm also looking at them. But with that being said,
let's talk about USC,
All right,
because
good.
that's
Let's
a team
dig in.
that I'm thinking about USC. Obviously, year in and year out, the deal with USC is just awesome talent
Yes.
in recruiting, and they just tend to underachieve. It's a dysfunctional program. Last year was like the epitome of that, right, with the Sarkisian issue, and then the ups and downs of the season. At times they were great, at times they were just a complete dud. Now they got a new coach. His attitude is kind of humble, right? He's like, "Oh, I'm just happy to be here. This is great. Which is a good thing you want to see for a program like this."
But with that program, I hate to interrupt you, but the two coaches before, you had Lane Kiffin and then you had Sarkisian, nothing but drama.
Exactly.
So this guy, he might be just the piece they need.
And that just,
somebody humble.
Drama plus awesome talent in recruiting equals overvalued, right?
Absolutely.
Now, you might see something, the quarterbacks are new and talented. The skill positions players were underutilized in the past, but they're mega talented, right? They've got a ton of guys at the skill position.
They're quiet.
And they've got a new defensive coordinator. Well, the new old defensive coordinator, right? Prendergast, who was last there in 2013. Fans were upset to see him go. That was probably correct that they should have kept him on. Now he's back.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Defense might get a boost. Yeah, in general, I'm thinking this might be the year where USC, I don't know exactly how good they'll wind up being, but not overvalued, maybe undervalued.
I think undervalued, Pete, and I'm looking at them really tight.
There.
The talent is definitely there, and you nailed it on the head. The fact that they have all those coaching issues behind them, maybe somebody that's quiet under the radar, humble, says, I'm just glad to be here. This team now can kind of, go with that chemistry that they have. I think undervalued. I think 7.5.
Imagine if Chris Peterson was the coach of UM. Why don't they just be
like, why haven't they looked at it? Make that call when you get out of here.
Be like, here's $50 million. Come be the coach, whatever you want. God, that would be just like.
Well, you know why he's not? Because Washington did that. They said, come on over here. We're going to give you that money. I like that. But I think undervalued. I'm looking. And also, there's one team, Pete, I think might be overvalued. Oregon, I do. There's a bit of me that says they might be overvalued.
Well, now we're going to have we've had a love fest here with our agreements and opinions. That was the other team that I was going to identify as possibly being overvalued. No, I'm not like
overvalued or
undervalued with betting value. Now I'm not sure about it because the whole X factor, it all hinges on the quarterback, right?
Yes.
Another a graduate transfer from an FCS program last year with Vernon Adams. It was okay, and he got injured. So a lot of the times when he struggled and when the team struggled when he went down was because of his injuries. Now
they felt that.
Right. Now, what is Prukop going to be able to do? That's the huge X factor. But they still have the fastest and deepest and maybe best set of skill position players, maybe in the country, right? That's there. The speed is still there. They're still one of the fastest teams, and they have just like a level of depth and experience that they didn't have last year. The big question is what kind of competency will they get from the quarterback? If they get competent play at quarterback, they might be undervalued. And then the reason they might be undervalued is because expectations are low.
Yeah.
Because they're starting another quarterback who's a transfer from FCS. Last year, everyone saw what happened with the underwhelming years. So not necessarily saying they're going to challenge for the national championship, but they might be a super talented team that is better than their expectations, and they have betting value against
and you might be exactly right. And again, that's why they play the game. But the factor I look into when you got and we talked about this on one of our other videos with other teams, when you got a transfer student coming from another program, it's a little hard-headed at learning a new system. So if they can get over that hurdle and that kid stays teachable, Pete, I absolutely agree. But that's yet to be seen, and I'm just not sold on the whole coaching staff yet. But I will be looking at it, and that's something that might change. I'm going to keep a close eye on them. That's the way I'm going to put it.
And the run defense last year was an absolute nightmare. And looking at the offseason changes, not much sign that there's going to be an improvement. So that's a big. But another reason why the defense, the Oregon defenses, they're not necessarily super great, and they're predicated on the offense being explosive. So they don't have to do that much. So if the offense does return to sort of explosive levels, then that takes some of the burden off the defense. So even if they're not much better, they'll still be asked to do less this year, so it will be less of a meaningful weakness. But you're right.
And hey, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Arizona. Rich Rodriguez. Here's a guy. He's on the hot seat. Yeah. He's got a whole bunch of returning starters, 16, and he's got quarterback, running back, wide receivers. If this guy doesn't get something done, no, I don't like him. I think they're going to be. I think this is a team to fade. 6 is their team total. Are you kidding me? With that crew coming back, that tells me he's on the hot seat. And I got a feeling when he gets pressured, I've seen seen it in his last 2 jobs. He tends to fold. And he folds under pressure.
Yeah, I mean, you hear this a lot in college sports. It's like when you have a lot of returning starters who weren't that impressive, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, last year they had one all-conference player. It was a punter.
Yeah.
This year they might not have any.
He was a punter.
I mean? So it's like,
It's still Pete. Where do you find this shit? I love it.
In the Pac-12, if I'm just saying, in the Pac-12, if you don't have any all-conference players and Chris Peterson's not your coach,
you're
probably going to be a good fade. So
But I look for Rodriguez to be out of there after this year, but I do look to fade that team early, checking out their schedule. So.
Yeah, and also the other Arizona team, Arizona State, a team that appears to be in disarray after last season. They've got a strong running back tandem and not much else.
Not much else. 5 on the team total. God, college football's here.
I think in general we have a pretty good handle on the Pac-12, but as always with the Pac-12, expect the unexpected.
Absolutely. And Stanford, Christian McCaffrey's back also. That guy's a horse, so look out for him. But God, Pete, it's time, baby. Let's cash some tickets.
Sounds good.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.